Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, good morning Philippines and hello Singapore. Welcome to Halal Talk Singapore. I'm Ismail Abaya and let's welcome Professor Azlan Oppier from Singapore. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah, brother. How are
Yeah,
you?
yeah. I'm fine. How are you? I'm
Alhamdulillah.
excited to continue the seminar that
Discussion.
you're talking about last
Yes,
week. Yeah, okay,
yes.
and let's welcome Brother Aslan, our panelist, Miss Kaida Enriquez, the president of Manila Council, Kaitre. But first, let's welcome the Philippines, Brother Aslan. Greet them.
Hello, everybody in Philippines. I hope you are doing well. You are, the good news is that in the United Kingdom next week the vaccine will be starting, and I hope it will be also extended to us, both in the Philippines and in Singapore.
Okay. Good. I hope so in the Philippines also, and I hope this pandemic crisis will be gone. Huh? Like a
Yes,
miracle. Tomorrow, it's
yes,
gone already. We can always look for a miracle, di ba?
yes,
Okay.
of course. Yes.
Let's welcome Kaida Enriquez, the president of Kaintrep Micro Entrepreneur Manila Council of the Philippines. Good morning,
Hello,
Kaida.
Hello,
hello, Ismail Abaya, and hello,
Yeah.
Aslan,
hello.
Professor
Yes,
Aslan,
yes. Hi.
and hello, the OFWs all over the world from the Philippines.
Yeah. Okay. Kaida, you're ready for your question later on, huh? Because as time we discuss
Yes,
a more
yes, I'm
exciting
really very excited.
continuation.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
So,
Aslan,
Thank you
let's
for
start na.
inviting me again.
Maybe we can start
all right.
na because
So,
the viewer are excited to hear the continuation of our discussion about halal.
yeah.
Okay?
All
Take
right.
it
So I'm
away.
gonna start off with the vinegar. Last week you asked about the vinegar. I told you it's gonna be a bit uh, long. The issues on vinegar. All right.
Okay.
Vinegar, as you know, is where product is being kept, and sometimes it is being there's some a bit of intervention by adding on, for example, sugar or any other things. Vinegar, for example, if we take grapes and we leave it for a few days, this grape can turn into vinegar.
Okay.
Yes, and when it turns into vinegar, there will be alcohol.
Okay.
The alcohol content, as the day goes by, it will keep increasing at the stage that it will become an intoxicant. So
Okay.
vinegar is very tricky. In Islamic way of halal, for example, beverage that is being when there is intervention and it turns into alcohol, then it can go into haram. Yeah, it can
Mhm.
turn into haram. For example, the uh, when you keep, like what I said just now, grape, for example, and if you were to add on purpose, yeah, on purpose, the grape you add on sugar, or you add in, for example, yeast, that means you are purposely making it non-halal, making it to a like a liquor, or alcohol beverage. So this
Mhm.
becomes haram on its own. Grape, if it's basically fruits, after a while it contains more sugar, and then the alcohol will increase. Whenever there is an increase in alcohol, if it's too much, yeah, because the guideline for halal is zero with a residue of 0.5. That's the maximum. It can goes down to 0.05. But once it's zero point 0.5, it's no longer considered as a halal beverage. So in the case of vinegar, when you have to look at the how it is fermented, is there any intervention? For example, naturally it can become vinegar when you leave it for a couple of days. But when you purposely add in sugar or you block the oxygen, then it is fermented and it become non-halal. You have to put it in natural condition without covering, leave it in under oxygen, and do not add in anything. Then it can become halal,
Mhm.
subjected to residue of 0.5% alcohol. So many people, in terms of vinegar, in order for them to get it halal, they actually use artificial alcohol or artificial way of doing vinegar so that it can be consumed. Yeah. So this is the vinegar part. Is it called datu putih? Is it something like that? I think in Tagalog
Yes,
maybe.
yes.
Vinegar, yeah, yes. And for if you were to export it to the Middle East, you have to be very careful because certain product, although it turns into alcohol natural, turns into vinegar naturally, it cannot be accepted as halal. Uh,
Mhm.
but again, when you do it in the Philippines, based on Philippine Sharia, if it's allowed, it's allowed. I'll give you an example. When we make soya sauce, soya sauce, the black color, soya
Yeah,
sauce,
yeah,
all
yeah.
right? So
Toyo,
that
toyo.
soya sauce, usually when we ferment, it will contain alcohol. And like what I
Okay.
say, with the residue must be kept at 0.5. What happen if it increases? Then you go to the law of the country, for example, the Sharia. Singapore says 0.5, but in Taiwan they are up till 28%, and it's still
Mm.
halal. So you see,
Okay.
so for the Chinese, 28% alcohol is still allowed. It's halal with logo. So you have to go back to your ulama in the Philippines. What is their allowance of residue alcohol? Because natural alcohol is something you can't really, stop because it contains naturally. But the guideline is 0.5% residue. That is the international guideline. For you to export, make sure it is kept below zero point 0.5. All right.
Mm.
So that's for vinegar. Okay, next, vinegar. There's a lot of kind of vinegar. Rice vinegar. You have,
Very tricky, Aslan.
yes,
Now I'm becoming to understand that
yes,
every country is
yes.
really there is a different standard of halal
Correct. Yes, yes. You're
acceptance.
right. You're right.
Accepted, di ba? They accept this, but in other countries, they cannot accept this kind of
Correct.
halal kind of
Yes,
certification because, especially vinegar, it's very tricky.
yes.
Okay,
Very
that's
tricky.
why we need the advice on what country you're going to export
Correct.
or
You are
sell
very
your
right.
product.
Yes.
Very important.
Always meet the requirement of the importing country, the your customer. You see, like for alcoholic beer, they call it non-alcoholic beer, 0% alcohol beers.
Yes, yes, you have
Yeah,
that in your country.
all over the world there is what it is not called halal beer. There is no halal beer. It is 0% alcohol beer. All right. So the process of making beer, with the intervention of malt, sugar, barley, yeast, this turns it into beer. But if you
Okay.
don't, so there are ulama who Islamic scholar, ustads that say that it is halal. So what
Okay.
happened is that it depends on how you view it. For example, in Japan, when they produce non-alcoholic beer, uh, they add the things, but before it ferment, they already took out. They just want to add in the taste.
Okay.
But it's different from Spain. Spain, when they do it, they allow the alcohol beverage to ferment, then later they burn the alcohol with a residue of zero point 0.5. This is another method of how they do it. But in most of the countries in the world, they, I would say, majority of ulama view it as haram. the consuming of 0% alcohol. But I'm in no position to tell you yes or no because I'm not an ulama. I'm just telling you the pattern or the trend in the world of how people view halal. So maybe one person tell you this is halal, and another person come to tell you it's haram. So this is what the industry needs to know. The people who in the hotel or in the restaurant, because if they get a consultant or someone to advise them and they are not advised properly, then they might misinterpret and say that this is halal or haram. Yeah. So just be
Question.
careful. Yes,
Question,
please.
Aslan,
Yes.
Professor.
Yeah.
Is the name or the word beer, beer, hot dog is halal? The name.
Yes.
Can
Traditionally,
use it.
this is being used, but it is sensitive in some countries. For example, in Malaysia, you cannot use the word beer. So in
Uh,
Malaysia, you cannot find root beer. There is no root
uh-huh.
beer. You don't go to a restaurant and say, I want root beer or ginger beer. So no. So root beer is the name in Malaysia is Sarsaparilla.
Ah, just like in the
Sasi,
Philippines.
like Sasi.
I see.
You see, ginger beer and Sasi is about the same. They use Sarsaparilla root. It's a plant called sarsaparilla. Is the root that makes to the root beer and
Ah,
ginger beer. And
oh,
also in hot dog, for example, they call it chicken friend.
ah,
Chicken friend or chicken sausage. These are
oh,
alternative
sausage.
name that you can use. In Singapore, we use the prefix before the name. For example, if we use hot dog, we make sure you put chicken hot dog. If we use the word ham, we will put turkey ham. There must be something in front of the word. So, for example, chicken bacon, turkey ham, chicken sausage. So there must be something in front to define. Yeah. On its own, because hot dog, when they started producing, it's popular in Germany, and they use probably half chicken, half pork. It's always a mixture of pork with chicken or pork with beef. So this turns it into non-halal. Traditionally, even bacon. But in Southeast Asia, we changed the name a bit. Like what I say, you cannot use root beer or ginger beer. Root beer is called Sarsap Rapila, and ginger beer is called ginger ale.
Ah,
They twist the word. Yeah.
uh-huh. Okay, good. Okay.
Okay. All right.
I
The
you
what
with your slide. Okay.
Just one more comment on the ginger beer, root beer. Why do they use the word beer? Because the process is same like producing beer. The process. That means they from the starts up rapula root, and they mix with sugar and all that. The process is something like making beer. That's why they call it beer. But it is non-intoxicant. Although we do not use the word beer. All right, we go to the slide. I promise to talk about the halal food control. If you can go to that slide, just wait for a while for the slides. Okay, the halal food control. I just want to touch on this important aspect when you are exporting. Whenever you export, you must remember that halal is always not the in most cases, halal is not the uh, primary certificate to be imported into the country. For example, first you have to meet the uh, what we call veterinary. For example, if meat, it has to meet the veterinarian department. Second, the health authority. Thirdly, is the agriculture department. These three are the main authority that will stop you or stop your product from coming in. So you have to clear all these issues. For example, in terms of AVA or agriculture and veterinary department, certain, for example, if you want to export chicken into Singapore, Singapore do not accept poultry from Philippines or cow or sheep or goat. This is
Even powder egg. Even powder egg.
powdered egg is under processed food. if we're talking about live animals, from Philippines they cannot export into Singapore. So
Oh,
the first question I'm going to ask, if somebody want to export to Singapore, I will ask what product. If they say meat, I say cannot go in. So it's a very straightforward shortcut answer. So number one, the veterinary. Second is the agricultural. They might ask you some things like the pesticide residue and so on. And thirdly
I
is of
see.
course the health ministry that may block some items that the thing is not allowed. For example, like Japan, Australia, USA, these are countries that are a bit more strict or stringent, yeah. Like UK, they are a bit more stringent on the imports. So you have to meet, for example, the USDA standard, and you have to understand also what kind of food system do they use. In many countries, they use, for example, the BRC system in Europe, which is the British Retail Consortium system. And of course, there are those who accept IFS here and ISO. So make sure you meet the standards. Check before you export. All right. So going to the slide, there are halal food laws and standards such as act, regulation standards, and manual procedure and codes of practice. Yep. So, for example, if you are going to export into Malaysia, so you have to meet the under halal, you have to meet the MS 1500 2009 Malaysian standard. Let me just share with you some of the standard. For example, Malaysia do not allow uh, I'm actually the previous slide, or still on the previous slide. For example, Malaysia do not allow uh, a mixed facility, meaning if you are uh, rearing or if you are slaughtering chicken, you cannot slaughter pig at the same vicinity. It has to be probably if you look, you can look at the new standard, 50 meters away or so. I can confirm now, but I actually, to be frank, cannot remember. But you have to check what is the distance minimum between a halal plant and non-halal plant. So that is the standard MS 1500. I'm actually on the previous slide still. Yeah. And the, for example, the yeah, okay. So you see the halal food laws and standard. Just now I spoke about the standard MS 1500 2009. So in order to export into Malaysia, you must understand the system they are using halal standard MS 1500 2009, number one. Number two, they are using what they call APD 2011, which is not stated here. APD 2011, for example, you are producing coffee mix 3 in 1. The coffee mix 3 in 1, the halal logo, it has to be placed on several places. Number one, it has to be on the carton. Number two, it has to be placed on each individual packet. Number three, it has the halal logo has to be printed on each sachet. So this halal logo is not only at one place, but on the sachet, on the carton, and on the packet. So this is among the regulation that you have to follow under APD 2011. Number three, there is what they call the Halal Assurance Management System in Malaysia, which you have to ensure, among others, there is a halal team in the vicinity. So these are some example of how the Malaysians view halal as. And it is good to ensure that, because before you can export into Malaysia with a halal logo, you have to be recognized by JAKIM, and JAKIM wants or prefer this to be in place. They will come and audit the halal certification body and ensure that these standards are being practiced. All right. Next, the enforcement operation, the surveillance, monitoring, entry point, import, export, seizure, and prosecution. There are cases where documents are not adhered to, incomplete. Uh, if you've heard of the containers being stuck at Indonesian seas by the Australian trader exporter. They export and the container got stuck in the sea, refused entry into Indonesia because of certain condition not met. So these are entry point issues, and if they are not labeled or mislabeled, it can even turn into seizure. Malaysia also does seizure. Yeah, they take away, or they took the stock uh, because of mislabeling, or if there's any cheating. Besides all these issues, you might get jailed or heavily fined. Yeah. Next is they are looking at the agricultural product, for example, the sampling analysis. Yeah. They look at the results, like what I said, the residues on the, for example, the pesticides or on other contaminants. Next slide. I'm just going to show you some of the example in legislation. Okay, it's a bit small. I'm sorry. Yep, these are some legislation that you can find, but this is not an updated one. Yep, always look for the latest regulation because it can change anytime, especially before COVID and now after COVID. It might have changed. I just give you some example on the Halal Food Act for Australia. The export meat order under the Export Control Act 1982. So this act, you have to read through the act, you know, what it says, and you have to adhere before exporting into Australia. In Indonesia, the Food Law Number 7, 1996, 30, 33, 34, food labeling and advertisement, and of course, after that, there is what they call Law Number 33, which is on halal. That touches the issues of recognition by the Indonesian authority. That is a newer one. All right. If you can see Malaysia, there is trade description order that I mentioned earlier on. And in Singapore, there is what we call Administration of Muslim Act Law, Section 88A. It protects the Muslim from being oh, yeah. I think brother has put my, this is the slightly old slide. My mobile number has changed. Please don't call this number. Someone else might answer, maybe Bangladesh also. All right. So under the Singapore AMLA, what we call AMLA Act, you can export into Singapore if you meet all the three authority just now, like what I said, the veterinary, agricultural, and health. But in Singapore, halal is not compulsory for when you export, because if there is two distribution way. One is halal if you go into any MUIS certified establishment. The other one is without going into MUIS certified establishment. It can go straight into the supermarket. So in that way, actually, Singapore is Malaysia, Brunei, Indonesia. They are strict. Yeah, it can land you into big trouble. And for example, if you are going to export to the Middle East, you have to get a certification by a body that has been accredited by Middle East. You cannot just go to any ABC company that certify you. In the world, you can get halal certificate very easily. Even I can write one for you now. But they only recognize certain certificate before allowing it to go in the Middle East. So if you want to go to Middle East, it is a bit more pricey in a way, because those who want to get accredited has to pay a lot of money to these Middle Easterners because of their strict regulation. You have to get accredited by the Middle East. It can cost them easily maybe between 20 to 60,000 US dollar. So that is the reason why halal is expensive if you want to export to Middle East. With they will ask you for halal logo that has been accredited. So these are some laws that I can share at the moment for those who wants to export overseas. I would like to stop for a while to allow a question.
Yes. Uh, Shout out, Mr. Alexander Flores is watching from Parañaque, Philippines. Okay. I have my question, Kaeda. I will ask some question first. Um, the accreditation of certification, halal certification.
Yes.
How come that some of the product has so much number of logo in their accreditation or product?
Very good question. I'm glad you asked. Okay. If you see certain product, for example, I'm just taking Nestle, maybe cereal box. Some
Okay.
cereal box, for example, you can see few logos there. Like what I said, not all countries will accept your certification body. Some
Okay.
country accept, some country don't accept. So because of this, to go into many market, they have to get multiple halal certificate just to enter the market. This is one big problem. This is one big problem. So a lot of people who this certificate issuers, be careful because they are among them. They are people who cheat, who manipulate. They will tell you, okay, you take my halal certificate everywhere you can use. Always make sure you get the right information checked. Yeah, like for me, I'm not a certification body, so I can tell you bluntly whether this can or this cannot. I can tell you straight away. So be careful. So coming back to Brother Ismail question, yes, there are multiple logo because of the restrictions in countries. Even Malaysia halal logo cannot enter Indonesia. You see, even
Oh, really?
if for example, people tell you, hey, Malaysia is the best. Just for example, yeah, we can
Huh?
go anywhere, but they cannot use it in Indonesia. So there is no single. That is as far as I'm concerned, to the best of my knowledge.
Mm,
So always be careful. There is no single logo that is being accepted in all countries as
yes.
at now in return. Yeah, there is no one logo that can go into all the countries. Yeah, so be careful. Always go back to the country you want to export to and get the logo.
And my next question, follow-up question about the logo.
Yeah,
They, somebody told me if you
yeah,
pass the certification logo of UI Singapore, you can
yes.
enter Europe.
Europe, okay, because Europe is not regulated, so any logo can go into Europe, no problem. Any logo,
Okay, good,
you
good.
can draw your own logo and go into Europe because
Oh,
it's
really?
not regulated. Yes, but
Yeah.
any religion, there are three extreme. There are the orthodox, conservative, and the liberals. So depending which group are you targeting, if you are targeting the orthodox, for example, they are very particular about their food. But liberals, they eat almost anything. They don't. They take it easy. They just take, for example, chocolate. Oh, I'm sorry, and they just consume. These are relaxed.
Okay.
Yes.
So when you told me that the Jakim logo cannot
Yes.
enter Indonesia,
Yes.
definitely Indonesia cannot just come in to Malaysia.
Oh,
Either
yes, it's
vice
allowed.
versa.
Indonesia logo is allowed in Malaysia, yes. But
Oh,
Malaysia logo,
really? I
yeah,
thought you will
maybe you say
accept
it's
that,
not fair.
but they allow Indonesia certification.
Yes,
So, really, really,
yeah. So at one moment, at least probably last year, until even last year, those who wants a Malaysian producer or manufacturer who wants to sell to Indonesia, you will see them having two logo, Jakim logo and MUI logo. So these are some issues that we Asian countries can discuss about and compromise.
And this goes to my third follow-up question. So the logo of Jakim and Indonesian logo can enter Singapore without going through MOE.
Yes, both of them recognize. Remember, there's always two scheme. One is called recognition scheme, the other called
Okay.
accreditation. So accreditation only, for example, Middle East they use accreditation, they don't use recognition. But
Okay.
accreditation you have to pay much more. Recognition is mutual recognition of each other. So the certificate for JAKIM and MUI is can be used in Singapore because it's recognized by MUI.
And this goes to my fourth question, Aslan,
Yeah. Yes.
because I'm franchising the One Halal convenience store grocery.
Yes.
We have
Yes.
an applicant in Pakistan.
Okay.
Tell me how we can deal with Pakistan halal ecosystem. Can they accept any logo of halal there, or it is highly regulated?
Okay. What's interesting about Pakistan, since couple of years ago, they've started the accreditation scheme, meaning now Pakistan is protected because they are Muslim majority country. They are now protected. They used to be free, means anybody can come in, but later on, it's just still new, probably about, I would say, 5 years or so. They are already accredited, they ensure that only halal can come in.
Okay.
Yes. So
And
you have to make
they accept
sure.
any logo from any
No,
countries that is halal.
no, no. When I say accreditation means they do not allow unless you are accredited by them.
Okay, good.
Yes. So to enter,
Okay.
if you have a big market in Pakistan, I would suggest get the accreditation by Pakistan. But I can check for you if you want to pursue. I can check for you whether can they also accept the Middle East accreditation. If they can allow, then you just need one accreditation.
Okay. Kaida, are you there? You're
Yes,
next.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just
She's very,
waiting for you to finish.
very, very quiet. Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's your
Well,
turn.
almost all of my questions are also in your question. But, I've already told you that I'm in connect with our indigenous people in the
Yes,
Philippines.
yes.
They have a foundation uh, with 110 tribes all over the Philippines.
Okay.
So I asked them, how can we help? So they said, we have two products, cassava and rice. Rice becomes rice wine and
Okay.
cassava becomes flour.
Yes.
So I was thinking, will cassava need to be accredited as halal also?
Cassava.
Or is it the floor? Is it the end product to be accredited as halal?
Okay, cassava on its own, not just peel, wash, not cut, not processed. It is considered halal. But once you turn it into a flour, there is a process involved. You need to get it halal certified. And this product is used largely in Southeast Asia. So there is a market. Cassava is always a big market. It is a very good.
I see. I told them that they have to form together different tribes. Like, for example, immediately 7 tribes, because one tribe per month. You harvest cassava in 6 months'
Yes,
time.
yes,
So, this month is the beginning of the first tribe and then the second month, so that you can have a whole year of uh, harvesting per month.
correct. Yes,
So,
you're right.
how much do you need to have to export per month? Is it one container, 140-foot container per month, or 140-foot container per 2 months? Something like that.
Usually, processed cassava flour, uh, it can be kept up till 1 year. So my
Yes.
suggestion is that you do not need to actually. You can wait one tribe after the other, but another alternative is that they can sell whatever they have. You have a third party who collect, send it to the factory and process. As long as you have stock that can last, say, between 1 to 2 years, try to make it as long as possible so that you minimize your losses. Make it as long as possible. Probably 1.5 years to 2 years is good if you can. And then whenever you have, because if you don't process, then it will turn into waste. Because these are what we call perishable products. They will go into waste. So just process it and then keep it in the storage. Because when people order, whether they are ordering one container or consolidated container, it will move by this pellet. So you sell by pellet. For example, one pellet, 50 boxes or 100 boxes. So one container, maybe you can go in 8 pellet. So one container you can sell about 800 boxes. If you keep 24 per box, so you are selling about almost 17,000 kilo per shipment. So this is a very good.
17,000 kilo
Yeah,
per shipment. That is
yes,
equivalent
17
to
ton.
140-footer.
17 ton, you can fit into 20 footer.
20-footer.
20
I
footer,
see.
yeah, 17 ton because it's compressed. So this is a good, I would say, way to do business collectively, like what we discussed collectively. This 17,000 at one go is no. You can keep in your store probably 50,000 ton. Uh, sorry, I'm sorry, 50 ton, and then you can sell by containers, 17 ton per shipment. I think is a very stable and good business model.
I see. Can I safely say
Yeah.
that if they really organize themselves, because
Yes.
they are already into planting cassava,
Yes.
but I was telling them they have to really organize themselves so that we can safely say that
Yes.
whatever the buyer wants, we can give.
Yes. Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
You can.
uh,
You know,
quality
cassava.
wise and
Yeah.
quantity wise.
Correct. And cassava do not need to be all flour. It can also be fresh cassava. You just peel out the skin, you wash, and then you vacuum pack. Because once you vacuum pack, it can last for 1 year. These are fresh cassava. And some people they use fresh cassava, they boil it, and they, for example, in Thailand, Malaysia, even Singapore is very popular dish. It is a cassava dessert, and some of them actually make into a pearl. I think, sorry, what do you call that? Sago pearl, something.
Sago, yeah,
Yes, sago. They use
the
also
pearl.
cassava. So cassava can turn into many things. It can also go into bubble tea. Bubble tea. They use the pearl, and you can make halal bubble pearl. Halal bubble pearl is difficult to find. So if you can produce, Singapore uses tons of pearls, in 1 month. So this is a very lucrative model if you can do halal bubble tea pearls.
For the milk tea product.
Yes, exactly. And it's difficult to find halal, except Taiwan is the main exporter. No one is competing with them. So please, Philippines, come forward.
And
Wow.
can I safely say that I
Yes.
have a friend who can do the marketing for them?
Yes, yes, of course. You can connect to me. I can connect you. Singapore bubble tea is number one. Bubble tea, they started many years ago when I was in Taiwan, maybe probably 20 years ago. They already started bubble tea. Bubble tea is not new, but it's been long. It's only that maybe they just changed the recipe here and there and some marketing. Bubble tea is very popular in Singapore, Malaysia, in Southeast Asia, it's very popular. So produce halal pearl because it's difficult to find halal pearl.
Can I also safely say that the
Yes.
accreditation can be done by my two friends, Ismael and Aslan?
I have no comment here
You know,
because
so that we won't have a problem with the accreditation, because of course these IPs, they do not know that, and
yes.
I do not belong to them. I just connect. See,
Yeah, my job is to advise, but I cannot. I'm a not certifier. I can give you few certifiers who can do it, and
yes,
then we can
who
go to
can do
the
the
yes.
certification?
But I
Yes,
can advise
yes.
you accordingly who can, because like what I say, people may tell you, they are recognized by all. This is not true, because not all certifiers are. Just now I give you the example. Even Malaysia, Jakim cannot go into Indonesia. So you must do your groundwork check, because after you make payment and then people don't return your money. Just be careful.
Correct.
Yeah.
Our job, to continue, Kaida, uh, Aslan, Professor Aslan, will receive our goods in Singapore.
Okay.
That's the responsibility of Aslan being the marketing guy there. In the
Okay.
Philippines, we can do consolidation, process the papers for export and other papers to, okay? That's our job responsibility. We do the paperwork in the Philippines, and Aslan is the one who will market it outside of the Philippines.
Yes. Yes. I
So
will do.
that is the the what do
Correction.
you call this? The division of work. Aslan do it in Singapore, Ismael do it in Manila.
Yeah. My
Correct?
my suggestion. My suggestion is this.
Where do I come in?
Okay. My suggestion is this. Don't rely on one product, because the competition might be tough. Might be tough. For example, if you
Yes, that
have.
will be the big problem, the
Yes. Oh, no,
pricing.
no. Let me tell you. Okay. Now you have cassava. Okay. Now I already tell you, you can turn it into three things. Number one, fresh cassava. Number two, pearl. Number three, flour. So we can do a consolidated shipment. So we can have like uh, three pellet of pearl, three pellet of flour, and two pellet of fresh. So in this way, we can sell it even much more quickly, because the quantity is smaller, and we can have regular shipment.
So there is floor, there is bubble,
Yes,
and there is press.
correct. Yes,
Correct?
you are right.
Correct.
Yes,
Vacuum pack.
and don't forget,
Very easy, very easy, the vacuum pack press,
the leaf of the cassava, the young leaf, is one dish that the Malays in Malaysia and Singapore love. The young leaf also can be sold.
the leaves, the
Young
The
leaf.
petal,
leaves.
Yes,
The leaves.
yes,
What
yes,
do we
yes.
do with the leaves?
dried,
We cook
dried,
it. We cook into like a curry.
dried or fresh.
No, no, no. Fresh, fresh. We cook.
Oh, really?
Yes,
So we can
cassava
also
leaf.
sell that,
The Philippines.
Leaf. Yes, yes. You can sell the leaf,
because
but only young leaf. Only young leaf. Not the old. We want the young one.
so what do we do with the leaves? With the moisturize it so that
Okay.
it will have a long shelf life.
You can vacuum pack so that it can have a long shelf life. But again, you must know the technology. Make sure it comes in fresh. This can be one
Yes.
income, but only young
Yes,
leaf. Only young.
it is just like you get the fish and you blast freeze it
Yes,
immediately.
yes, correct.
So with the young leaves, you
Yes,
demoisturize it so that the moisture content is only 10% or lower, and then you put it in a vacuum bag.
yes, yes.
Correct?
Normally we consume fresh leaf. To be frank, we don't really demoisturize. If you can
No,
export,
because when you ship it and then it goes to the consumer can just put it in water again. so that
Okay.
it becomes fresh again.
Yeah, you can do a pilot run. That means you send some to me, and I look at it, and I will advise you because the leaf is very saleable in Singapore. You know, we consume the leaf. It's a vegetable for us. It's vegetable. The young leaf of
You know
cassava.
what? We do not eat the leaves here.
Why? You must try. It's very,
We only eat the
very.
kamote leaves, not the cassava leaves.
Oh, it's
It's
very
the first
very
time
delicious.
that I heard that. Well, this is the second time actually. First
Ah,
time, I cannot believe.
oh, it's
I
very
cannot
very
believe that.
very nice.
How do you use that?
Very good. Next
What
time,
kind of viand
uh,
will that be?
I will
Do
send you the
you
photo.
do you fry it
No,
or
no,
do
no.
you
We cook it
put
like
it in
it's
sinigang like
vegetable.
that?
So mainly there is two ways that I can advise you. Number one is just to boil it. Boil it.
Mhm.
After you boil, but we don't boil little bit. We boil
Just enough.
maybe no, no, no. Normally we will boil maybe 1 kilo, 1 kilogram. We boil, and then we will eat it. Do you know in satay? Do you know satay?
Yes.
Satay, you know, in Singapore, Malaysia, satay is a skewered meat you eat with a peanut sauce. Okay,
Yes.
so the young leaf of cassava, you boil it and you eat with the peanut gravy. It is very, very delicious. Number
Really?
one. Yeah.
I have to try that. I will
Number
try
two,
that.
number two, you cook into a yellow curry. Yellow curry, you cook it and it tastes very delicious, very good. Yes, please eat the young cassava plant. Leaf, young leaf only.
You know,
That is
Aslan, we thought
something.
the cassava leaves is
Yes.
poisonous and toxic.
No, 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 no. We consume, yeah.
Oh, really? Ah?
Yeah, Singapore, Malaysia. Yeah, you Google it. You Google. But we don't call, you know, in Singapore, Malaysia, we don't call it cassava. We call it tapioca.
Yeah, tapioca.
Ah,
Tapioca.
tapioca
So
leaf.
you Google tapioca leaf dish. Then you will see that how to cook it. It's very, very delicious. I can eat 1 kilo on my own. It's very
Really?
delicious. Yes, it's a vegetable. Very good.
It's just like kamote tops. That's what we do with kamote tops. We
I'm not
just
sure what's that.
put it in on top of the rice.
Ah, no, no. This one
When
we
when it wilts and it's very green, you take it with the sauce, any kind of sauce you want.
I see, I see.
Maybe the
That
viewer
leaf,
will ask question,
yes,
Aslan, Professor.
yes.
How many days uh, will be the shipment going to Singapore?
For example, if you are talking about vegetables, I look beyond cassava leaf. Vegetable normally, because Philippines is quite a distance, you can go by air freight,
Okay, air freight.
because
Oh, that's good, ano? Kaya air freight only.
Air freight
it,
pala.
for fresh. But if you are talking about cassava flour, you're talking about cassava which has already been vacuum packed, you can still go by ship, yeah, by ship, and it will take probably a couple of days to reach Singapore, which is fine. Because if your flour can last for
1 week,
18 months,
1 week
less than
up
1 week.
to the time
Singapore.
they go to the
Oh yes,
shelves.
yes, yes. Yeah, you know, because it lasts, if you can last for 1.5 years, there is no problem, the cassava.
Uh, Good business,
Ganun
ha?
pala.
Kaya the kamote, taps, ha?
Yeah. The only thing that I have to find is they have to be assessed and pass so that they can get a grant.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
My question,
Yes.
Professor,
Yeah, yes.
for the leaves, do they need certification for that? What kind of documentation they need? Because it's fresh.
You yes.
Hello.
Process like, can you hear me?
Oh, what
Yes,
happened?
yes, yes. Continue.
Yeah. for example, the pesticide, you must ensure that the level of pesticide use is not excessive. And you can, what you can do is to go into the website of Singapore AVA or SFA. There is guideline on how to export into Singapore. What are the guidelines? What are the parameters? What are the conditions? So this will help you uh, no to understand how we import. But normally for vegetable, there is not much of an issue. It's just certain criteria that you must meet.
Uh,
Mm.
I'm not, I don't think I'm going to have a problem with that, Ismail.
Yeah,
Kasi they are indigenous people and they don't use insecticide and
Ah,
yeah.
natural.
fertilizers. It's going to be organic.
Yes.
I'm
That's
going to
something
insist.
that's done
I'm
in
going to
Japan.
insist on that because we will have some people who will go there and see to it that it is organic really.
That's good.
They're going to seek the help of Secretary Piñol also, and then the OST.
Don't forget to try the cassava leaf, young leaf. Don't
We
forget.
can try that also.
Yeah, you try and cook. You look at the YouTube maybe or Google tapioca leaf curry.
It's being done with kamote tops. Eh. You you dip it in the white of the egg, and then you
Uh-huh.
dip it in the flour. Then
Uh-huh.
it's going to be crispy.
Ah, I see. I see. I see. But not for this. Not for cassava leaf. Cassava leaf we don't eat like that.
You cannot
It,
you
it,
cannot try that like that.
I've not tried, but I don't see people eating that way. They just boil it with a peanut sauce or turn it
I
into a
see.
curry vegetable. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
My
So,
suggestion,
Whoever.
Aida, any more
Kaida, my
question?
suggestion, we can
Yes.
start immediately with the cassava leaves. Because it's
Yes.
easy.
Yes.
You just
Yes.
bang it
And then
and
it's not
air
our
fry.
problem. It is Aslan's problem. Diba? He's the consultant.
Yeah, inshallah. Yeah. Any further question? We have about less than 10 minutes left.
Okay. Any last question, Kaida? Follow-up
No
question.
more. I'm
Oh,
In
completely
okay, you see, like government can play a part too in helping the exporters. For example, in Australia, the meat is being controlled strictly by the AKIS. Yeah, AKIS is in short for Australian Government Authorized Halal Program. So the government has a halal program to issue guideline workflow standards for the manufacturers or producers to meet, so the government
yeah.
can actually work out on the guidelines, and then people come for the courses or course, get to know how to do it, and then they can export. So they even control the halal program actually in Australia. So if you want to market or you want to produce beef or sheep in Australia, you must get approval by them or else you cannot export. So you see, government can help play a part in ensuring, and also they come and audit, and they don't just teach you and they let go. No, they will come every year, at least one time, check your office, check your documentation, make sure you are doing the right thing. If you are not doing the right thing, you can get delisted. Once they delist you, then you cannot export anymore. So the government is an important entity to ensure the success of your export program.
Mm.
okay. Okay,
Yeah, I think you are still short
And
of the, yeah.
one last thing I'm going to ask you for the
Yeah,
prices.
yes,
We need to know the price of the product in Singapore
correct,
so that we
yes.
can do our computations here.
Correct. And your packaging must be good packaging. Yeah, that means you must also pay attention to your packaging. Do not do it anyhow because
Yes, yes, yes.
people
We are
want to
going
cook
to talk.
properly.
I already talked with the DTI about the packaging.
Yes, And make sure
Uh,
it's in English. In English, yeah. In other language,
yes, in
they
English.
will reject.
In
Yeah.
English.
Yes, yes. I think you are still shocked by the cassava
Before
leaf. So
before we finalize the packaging, we will
yes,
show them to you so that you can
yes,
guide us
yes,
if that is correct, or where to put the logos, or if the name is not correct.
yeah. This
Like we
indigenous.
have to have a branding. I want to have a
Yes,
branding
yes,
that
yes,
this floor, or this product is
yes.
made by the indigenous people of the Philippines.
Great, great,
Something
great.
like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That is good.
You
That
do
is good.
you do the thinking. I just
No problem.
start the concept. You
I've never
finalize
seen.
everything.
I've never seen the indigenous
That
tribe.
is your job, Ismael.
Oh, it's my. Where are they actually? Where are these people actually? Are they in Luzon?
Hmm. I'm starting with Mindanao. They
Okay.
also have the indigenous in Luzon, and then Visayas. But for the
Okay.
Casaba project, that will be in Mindanao,
Mindanao.
because
So
they have several tribes there already planting Casaba.
I see. I see. And these are what? In what? Kota Batu or something? No, not Kota
Again?
Batu. Are they in Kota Batu?
No, 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 no.
No.
No, no,
Yeah.
not in North Cotabato.
Okay. Okay. All right. Because I'm not
We
really familiar.
we when I have identified
Yes.
the tribes that will participate, we will also have identified the land that's going to be used for that project. Because the land, they're not going to buy it.
Uh-huh.
It's already given by the government as a heritage, ancestral land
How
of
big
the
is that?
IPs.
How big?
Uh, Several hectares
Oh, that's good. That's
per
good.
tribe.
How about
Per tribe.
machinery?
Like
How
for
about the
example,
machinery? Uh,
25 hectares per
oh
tribe, something
wow,
like that.
wow. That's good.
100
And
hectares.
Yeah,
wow, that's
because
big.
you cannot plant to cassava all the hectareage, because
Mm-mm.
that is forest. We cannot do that. I will get angry with them if they do that, because it's going to start as a landslide. See, we have to talk with the DENR people also, so that they can tell us, you do this only, this part. So about 20 hectares on this part. They own,
Yeah.
they own mountains,
How about some
not
of them
just.
planting, potato, maybe some of them plant onion, some garlic, so that you have variety of product.
I was thinking of herbs,
Herbs. Herbs are more
herbs and
into
medicinal
European.
plants.
Yeah, but they are more into European market. But for Southeast Asia, the daily used product is like potato, onion, garlic, shallot. These are more used, or yam. These are more used
We
here.
can do that also. We
Yeah,
can do that also, because that
yeah.
is going to be another facility. Because
Uh-huh.
for Casaba, you have to have a warehouse, you have to have a manufacturing plant to
Yes,
make the floor.
yes.
So that is different facility altogether if you plant another.
Brother Ismail,
So
we are running short of time.
so so you pray with me, pray
No
over
problem.
me, so that I can do this connection. It is because of Ismael that I was thinking about it.
Okay, Kaida, any parting words? Because we have no time now. We'll continue after this show or
I
on
think God
Sunday.
has given this to me. I'm going to do it.
Okay.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
For
Uh,
them,
yeah.
imagine there is 18 million IPs in the Philippines. We just have 1 million. Isn't it a very good thing for the Philippines already? Because
Yes.
taxes will be coming in also. and we're going to help with the health problem, education, and everything. Diba? If we're able to get them out of their poverty,
Yeah, definitely. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Nobody is going to help you except yourself. You cannot come and
yeah,
do for them. They have to do it themselves.
True.
yeah. But I don't want to give just relief goods. I want them to start their own company.
Yes.
They already have the foundation. Eh. So it's a matter of redirecting them and then giving them seminars. So
Okay.
maybe one of these days you will come and meet them
Sure,
and then
sure.
talk to them. Then we go there. They are based in Davao.
Cubao,
It's like
yes.
the
Yes.
visitor of the Philippines.
They are not the ones with the terrorists, ah. They are not the ones with the terrorists.
Okay.
Okay.
The terrorists are the manobos. And then the Muslims, the BIFF, they do not belong
Oh,
to that.
okay.
Okay. Brother Aslan, maybe you do the extra.
All right. I just want to thank everyone for watching, and we shall meet again next week for us to look at other things. Probably I'll go into the ingredients so that they understand what are the things that affect the halalness of the product. Inshallah, next week.
Okay. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Surprise!
Salam.
Thank you, Aslan. Thank you, Kaida. Bye-bye.